Welcome, Sandman Nation. We are the St. Louis Syndicate. I'm Nate. He's Brandon. We're here with week 13 of the NFL. And Brandon, I don't know about you, but last week played out exactly how I thought. What about you?
It was wild. I only missed 3 games. I was really impressed with how the teams played. I I haven't had
You
that good of
knew
a
that's how they
morning
would do it. You knew it all along.
yeah. Well, I just after we sat here and I just kept hammering that I don't understand why the Dallas line wasn't moving. I talked myself out of it on Thursday morning and then missed that game. And then didn't miss another game until the Pittsburgh game in Sunday afternoon. So it went on a nice, you know, run there. And in Denver was, a stopped fourth down and overtime away
Oh,
from getting me the cover there. So, the Pitt game I screwed up, the Kansas City game I screwed up. Denver kind of everybody that was on the Denver side there.
yeah.
How did yours go?
Yeah, I only missed a few myself. Probably one of my better weeks overall. And it finished up strong with the beating that New England put on the Giants, as I kind of
Oh
expected.
man.
A lot of people were not necessarily on that game thinking the Giants were going to keep it close, but it's kind of to that theory, and we'll throw it back to Chad, right? If a team's hot and doing things the right way, then you're going to see that success. I think it was important. You and I just talking about this before we started recording. There are teams out there that are hungry and playing like they're hungry, and there are teams that are not hungry. And the Patriots are a hungry team. They're out there competing their butts off every play. Seattle, hungry. That defense is competing. Houston, competing. Then I see a team like the Eagles, and I'm not so sure that they're competing at the same level for their talent. And that's a talented group of men over there, and they just act
Uh-huh.
sometimes like they're not sure they want to be there.
Yeah, I took Chicago on Friday,
Yeah,
but I would have never crossed my mind that they were just going to lose outright. I mean,
right.
obviously Chicago's kind of on this run, but you would have thought that it would have been some sort of turnover fest or something. Chicago just I mean, they're kind of hungry.
Yeah,
They don't quite have the firepower to
they
hold you
are
down
hungry.
and beat you up, but they just keep coming. And it's one of the things that clearly Ben Johnson has gotten into that team that, like, hey, the passing game isn't going to quite work the way I want it to yet. We're still feeling that out and figuring out how to make it work with the tools that he has. But we're going to go out there. We're going to be opportunistic. We're going to hit people. We're going to take chances. And so far, they've just hit heads over and over
Yeah.
again for a couple of weeks and been able to build themselves up quite a cushion to make sure that they get into the playoffs. So yeah, they kind of go in that list with New England and Seattle
Yeah.
and the Rams,
The Rams.
where they just go, hey, we're gonna keep hitting you as long as we can get away with putting that pressure on you. And, I think that those are kind of the way that, you got to lay the 7.5 in New England.
Yeah.
It's a rough number. Nobody that picks in any way, strategically wants to lay 7.5 points.
No.
But at a certain opportunity, you have to look at it and go, hey, here's the situation. And you have a team that wants to win with margin. And I think that's one of the things that's helping me with my number is that part of what's built into my number is the the delta between the spread and where the game ends for these
Yeah.
teams. And that helps kind of stretch that number out for me where I go, hey, these are teams that when you get up around the 7.5s, the 8.5s, the 9.5s, if my number's coming out on the other side of 10, you go, okay, this is a team that is consistently outperforming what the line is.
Right.
So maybe it's safe to give them the opportunity to go ahead and cover.
Yeah.
Where when you get that tighter deal, you go, okay, we probably shouldn't lay it here because this team isn't really trying to stretch out leads.
I love that. I love that you have data that can back that up or at least give you a test point, right? So a lot of times our data
Yeah.
We talk a lot about data. We like data. We believe in data. We're kind of nerds that way. We like Excel spreadsheets, but we don't just blindly follow it. You kind of test it, right? And so you have a hunch, and then
Yeah.
see if the data tested. And so the fact that you've got that margin built in there is important. You know, Another thing we're seeing in the NFL right now, and this is just an opinion, right? But it's so when we talk about our data versus our feel, right? And we had a guy that I used to work for used to call it art versus science, right? He's like, is this an art project or is this a science project? And you and I always kind of lean towards the science projects because we wanted facts and data.
Uh-huh.
But
Right.
sometimes having a good art is a feel of things. And one thing that I've noticed, and this is just noticing, there's no facts. I don't have any data. This is something I've noticed. I feel in the NFL right now that there are three primary types of coaches. You've got your emotional coaches, you've got your tacticians, and it's a tactician and the word I'm looking for is old reliable or like I've been there before, done that kind of thing. I think of Sean Payton.
Sure.
And then you've
Yeah.
got your just kind of trying to figure it out coach. So
Right.
the emotional coaches right now are what we're calling players coaches. Players, the teams that are having success right now are the Dallas Cowboys, the New England Patriots, right? The Seattle Seahawks, the Rams, right? Every one of these coaches has an emotional component to them. If you see them before the games, after the games, when they're doing their breakdowns and their jumps, there's a level of smile on the players' faces when they're
Yeah.
around their coaches. Now, this is different, right? Because head coaches in the NFL used to have to be the CEO, the manager, they were the boss, they laid down the rules, they did all this stuff, right? The infrastructure, I think, in the NFL has changed now to where that coach now becomes more of a hype guy and a leader if managed correctly in an organization. So what I mean by this is an organization is sound at, and I know this sounds stupid, right? The Cowboys, the Patriots, who has this good operational structure that says these are the rules, these are the rules we follow. Now go play within the rules. And then you got a coach who's like, we follow the rules, but we're gonna have fun doing it. And these players want to play for them. And the coaches don't necessarily have to coach. They coach, they know what they're doing. They have coordinators, they do all that. It's different. They're not Bill Walsh anymore, right? We don't have that guy. You have Tom Landry.
Right.
You're not drawing up the X's and O's as much. The coaches that are drawing up the X's and O's are still good guys, right? You still have Sean Payton. You still have Mike Tomlin. You still have Andy Reid. I would argue Sean McDermott falls in that. So that's that next layer, right? So you've got your hype guys, and then you've got your talented tacticians who've kind of proven record. And then everything below
Yeah.
that is just we don't know what the fuck we're doing. And I feel like that's a
Yeah. We're
lot
just
of the
trying to figure
NFL.
it out as we go.
And
Yeah.
if you don't have a game plan, if I'm a team and I want to go take my team to the next level, I'm looking for one of two coaches. I'm looking for hype guy who can lead and get men to play for him, or I'm looking for tactician who's proven they can do it, a la won a Super Bowl, Sean Payton, Andy Reid, and they have a proven methodology and players respect them. Where we're seeing this weakness is these guys that do not understand yet how to lead. And if you look at the teams on our list, we'll get to our top 5 here in a minute. I promise you see mostly hype guys and data tacticians. You don't see a lot of you know, great coaches that are stumbling. Now that happens, right? Some great coaches have bad years. Mike Tomlin's one.
He's having himself a rough time.
He's having a rough year right now, and that happens. But that doesn't mean that he's a bad coach. He's definitely not a hype coach. He's that we talked about it, right? This is my way or the highway. We're going to do it this way, and his way has worked for 20 years. We can respect that.
Yeah.
You can't come
Well,
in
and
and try to be
sometimes,
that way. Yeah, if you
he's in a very unique situation where like he has been successful, but not overly. It kind of runs into that same sort of situation like we have on the college side
yeah,
with, hey, this coach isn't a bad coach, but he can't get us over the hump.
right.
So we want to try to move on to somebody else, even though we know that coach is just going to be hired by somebody else immediately. There's a
Immediately.
whole bunch of teams that are immediately going to go, hey, whether Pittsburgh fires him and he steps away, they mutually go, hey, I should just go do something else. There's going to be a dozen teams on his line immediately that go, well, come talk to us
Yeah.
because we can give you a fresh look. And maybe all you need is just have this shaken loose a little bit. And, Pittsburgh is just one of those special places where you go, hey, when we get a head coach, we keep them for 2 decades at a time.
Oh yeah.
Like we hire the right guy and then we let him lead the team. And, Tomlin may have just kind of ran into a situation where, it just kind of ran its course. But, he's gonna get picked right up and put in the next place quickly. And hopefully he makes a good decision. And he
Yeah.
doesn't end up being one of these rebuild guys. You
Totally
want to
agree.
go to a team that's already been rebuilt
Yeah.
and just needs the head coach to lead.
Yeah. And he's the kind of guy that can do that though.
You almost want to take him and Harbaugh and just like flip them
Oh yeah. Wouldn't that be funny?
and go, hey, you go over, like Harbaugh has kind of, you know, something has broken over in Baltimore. Like
Yeah.
that's not working. Here, you two we'll just trade you.
Yeah.
And then, here,
And they're
take another
kind of
run at
similar
it.
coaches when you talk about them. They're similar kind of in
Yeah,
style.
very
Neither one of them
much.
are super hype guys. Neither one. They're both kind of no nonsense, but
Yeah.
they are proven successful winners with a tactical side to them. And if
Yeah.
you look at these, that's why I pulled this list up. I know we'll
Yeah.
get to this in a minute, but if you look, I'm going to go hype guy, tactical. I'm not sure about the Seahawks coach. He's kind of a new guy. I'm learning about him.
He seems tactical.
He
It seems
feels a
like he
little
came in with
tactical.
a plan. And
Yeah.
though it seems like the team is really, I mean, he's a younger guy, so
Yeah.
that always helps
Yeah.
you
I
connect
haven't
from the
seen a
hype
lot of
side of
video
it.
on him. Maybe we can get Bill on and he could tell us all about him and
It's a good point.
about how his,
He's probably
because like I
watching it
see a
very
lot of the
closely.
videos and stuff. Shanahan, leader,
Yeah.
strength, leader, win, proven record. McVay, hype guy and leader. Cowboys, Schottenheimer, hype guy. Ben Johnson, hype guy. He's out there taking his shirt off, fighting with guys.
He tore his shirt off in the
Like,
locker room.
Harbaugh wearing his khakis. No, I mean, he's a hype guy, right? He's serious, but he's also proven. D'Amico Ryans is intense. This is a kind of a. I think this guy falls in. If he had any success, he would fall into the Harbaugh Tomlin type of coach for me.
It does seem like that's where he's got a head.
He's more stoic, but then you've got Andy Reid, right? He's your tactician. He's your stoic. He's your leader, sound hype guy, stoic, sound. Definitely over here, Todd Bowles is very, Mike Tomlin style, very, buttoned up to the point. But then when you start getting down in here, I mean, look at like Sirianni and these guys. These guys are floundering. McDaniels and Dan Quinn's a solid coach. I wouldn't, necessarily dump him in this.
No, he just had
Not
his guy fall apart.
not every coach can be grouped, but I think when you look at our lines, Brandon, and we think about this, and you talk about covering your margin, the guys that are playing the hardest have the best shot at covering against the spread. So if it's a close one, a hype guy is going to motivate his team to continue to pursue excellence. And a tactician is going to execute to put his guys in the gym to be successful, and everybody else is going to come up short. That's my 2 cents. I don't know if it's worth a shit or not. That's my 2 cents.
I think you're right on because there is so much to the reasons why teams are able to continue to put their body on the line when they've got the game won.
Yeah.
It like, hey, we're done. We're up, 14 points. We can just sit back and skate and try to just end this game, or we keep hitting people, hitting them hard and trying to make them remember that they should pull their arms back a little bit when they go to catch a pass
or run out of bounds.
It's very interesting because one of the other podcasts that I listen to, he's clearly taken some positions on Coach of the Year that isn't Vrabel, and Vrabel's kind of maybe the leader, odds on, or right there at the top. and just like, hey, if they just run through this,
Yeah.
like, he's probably going to end up with it being
Yeah.
a, the first year with the Pats and the whole thing. And he kind of, spends a certain amount of his time just kind of shitting on Vrabel because he he isn't really the tactician.
No.
He is the leader of men sort of
Yes.
thing. I am going to lead by example.
Yes.
We are going to go out here and we're going to hit people. And it's really hard to put that into numbers. But when you watch the game and you sit down and you go, I can see the way when he talks to players, how they react, that you go, that's one of the most important parts of being the top guy.
That's right.
You
When
know,
you see
like,
these multi-million-dollar athletes smile at their head coach like he is a friend and not an employer, it is a massive boost to your team morale.
especially when you know that he's telling them to do something.
Yeah.
They're not just screwing around. He's going, good for doing that, or this is what we need to do next time. And instead of just going, yeah, call the plays, I'll be out there. They're interacting as two people. You go, that's what gets you over that hump. I mean, that's
Mhm.
where we talk about Tomlin maybe needing to change the series. That's what we got with
Yeah.
Reed going from Philly to KC,
Absolutely,
where
and it
he just
worked.
kind of ran out his time. He was winning in Philly. He just couldn't get over the hump. And he had just done that thing for so long. They went, we got to move on to something else. And
Yeah.
he came to Kansas City and brought that same mentality to it, but a new group of people,
Mhm.
and they bought into it.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
what makes it hard for me, that's confusing, is that seemed very obvious when Vrabel was in Tennessee.
I
That the
know.
reason that they were playing as well as they were playing was because the team was reacting to being coached by this person.
Yes.
And then because it seemed like, I guess, he voiced that and went like,
Yeah.
hey, I think I'm pretty good at this.
Yeah.
I think maybe I should get some decision making of like what's going on here.
Yeah.
GM
Quit
goes, all right, beat it. You
quit
go,
drafting me
wait,
Malik
wait,
Willis.
wait. Right. Stuff like that where you just go, hey, let's be a little bit better here. You just go, I don't understand how these people that live and breathe this are so focused in on, I guess, what their goals are, that they don't see the whole landscape of everything.
Ego.
And and then you end up sending him back to his home team, and then all of a sudden he's a favorite to win coach of the year. And
Yeah.
you just go, you had him the other place.
Yeah.
This isn't college. He probably
No.
wasn't going to just like leave for the
Right.
better job,
No.
at least not for a while, if you were going to continue to let him lead your team.
Yeah. It's a different dynamic, and they just totally fucked that up,
Yeah. Yeah.
for
That's
lack of a
I
better term, so anyway, I know we
sure.
digress on the leadership of men, but how it applies, obviously, is how these teams respond. And when you're having to look at a line that is 4.5, 3.5, 7.5, 6.5, making decisions sometimes trying to decide which way am I going to go, know that your players are going to be more motivated in certain scenarios where they work every day. It's workplace enjoyment. I mean, Jesus, all of us normal Joes out there have to go to HR and have all these seminars and sessions and leaderships and this and that and how people react. It's the same thing in the NFL. Their employees, they're getting paid. They need to like their boss. Most
Yeah.
people quit their jobs because of their bosses.
Yeah.
That's a
Without a
proven
doubt.
fact. It's
Yeah.
not different just because they're getting paid millions.
No.
It's
No, it's the same deal. It's how much do you believe in me?
that's
And
right.
it's one of those things that like when we start going down this list, one of the teams, the only reason that I'm even leaning towards laying the points is because of the way that the team is continuing to push.
Which game is
And
that?
Denver. Denver
Yep.
and Vegas.
Yep.
You go, hey, Denver hasn't been winning by very many points,
Right.
but they are keeping their foot to the pedal.
Yeah.
And they're doing everything they can, and Vegas is not.
No, they quit.
Vegas has got Crosby out there trying to do everything he can to play defense by himself. And, from an offensive standpoint, you got guys like Genty and Bowers who I'm sure are engaged in but the the offense just is not working.
No.
It's not doing way Gino can't lead it the way that I guess he was able to in Seattle last year. There's something that's changed there that hasn't, worked as well. And you
Well, and Pete Carroll's only in his first year, and he's a hype culture guy, and it hasn't infiltrated yet to the depths to where people are buying in.
yeah,
Or
or
the
it's not going to
culture of
happen.
losing is so strong in that organization that maybe even a whole hype guy can't overcome it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Somebody could argue with this and go, well, Pete Carroll's one of the biggest hype guys there are, and he's kind of considered, no, he's not a tactician. He's just a hype guy. And I'm like, yeah, he is. But, you know, if your ownership doesn't give you the tools to be successful with, there's only so much you slap guys on the asses all you want. But if it,
Well, and sometimes you make a bet, it doesn't work. Like I'm sure he was the guy going bring Gino here,
yeah,
and it just didn't work. You got the quarterback whisperer up there in Minnesota. It went. This is
oh
my
yeah,
guy, and it's not working. And you can you can say whatever you want to say when you're winning.
yeah,
It's okay. How do you then adjust that when now you have to backtrack some? You have to go, look, that was the thing I believed. This is what I saw. And it turned out I was wrong.
yeah,
And we're going to take another stab at it.
yeah,
Whoops. Don't sunken cost this whole thing. Don't throw good money after bad. Just go, no, that didn't work.
right,
I need to refocus, reestablish what I'm looking for in a quarterback and take another shot at it.
yeah,
And, get out of the one that you're currently sitting in and find the next guy that you go, okay, I think he has the qualities that I need to execute my offense, and instead of being stubborn about it.
yeah,
You can't do anything during the year.
no,
Minnesota has a combination of injured and ineffective quarterbacks just playing a carousel. And when you get stuck with that, I don't even know how you pick a game. They're playing Washington this week.
yeah,
You go, I guess Mariota at least was effective against Denver last week. Now he's
yeah.
got to go into Minnesota and play against Flores' defense. And you just go,
Mm,
both these teams are bad.
yeah, I
Now,
mean,
what are you guys going to do? Because somebody's got to win this game.
yeah, well, they're both not good. I mean, I feel like Washington at least was competitive in their game against Denver,
Yeah,
where Minnesota was
they
not
were right
competitive
there.
against Seattle. Now, that being said, they had the 18th string quarterback playing, and the poor bastard was
Yeah.
getting just hammered by Seattle's defense.
Oh, man. He had no idea what was happening.
No, that poor guy. I felt so bad for him. He is way out of his league.
Every time he dropped back, he was just like, all right, here's what we're going to do.
Yeah, I mean, that's like if you ever wondered what it would be like to have a normal Joe play quarterback in the NFL, and
And
some
that's
guy
what's
who's
crazy
never done it.
is he's probably the 100th most
Yeah,
effective quarterback on earth or
yeah,
something. And
yeah,
that's what happens when you have to play a defense like Seattle when
yeah.
you aren't one of the top 10
3.
quarterbacks on
Yeah,
earth.
yeah,
Like you just go, oh, yeah, there's guys coming from every angle. They know exactly what. I mean, that pick six that he threw, that Seattle guy looked like they were playing catch. I mean, he ran to exactly where the ball was going to go while the quarterback was just being whipped, just arm whipped. And he just throws it. And the guy was just right there. He was just like, oh, that's exactly where the ball is going to go. And just saw it coming and just went like, yeah, it's going to be over here. Just
that's just
absolute
talented
chaos. He
athlete.
had to have just been rolling around on the ground going, wait, what happened? Is he just watches this guy run back past his head?
Yeah,
I,
he had
yeah,
no
I
idea.
can't imagine. th- getting the ball back immediately and going, okay, now I got to take another shot at this.
Yeah, just hopefully I survive to see my family is what he's thinking. So I'm on you. I'm with you on Denver, Las Vegas. I have at a plus 11, and I think that Denver can cover the 7.5 pretty nicely. What do you
Yeah,
think?
I got 15.3.
Yeah,
It gets
I mean,
really, Vegas is so underperforming that
yeah, they're terrible.
they're the lowest by margin now.
So I'm hesitant to even talk about it, but the game of the week that's on Thursday
For
is
real.
Dallas and Detroit, and for some reason, speaking of Vegas, they won't move this line off of 3. Even Dallas is a dog going into Detroit. Don't quite understand this. My numbers do not have it. I don't think Dallas should be favored on the road, but it should be closer to a pick 'em. And my numbers where,
That's probably what without home field advantage, I've got Dallas as a point 0.6 favorite.
yeah,
So, you get close to a pick 'em, with
you get
some home field
close.
advantage for Detroit. And
You're getting the hook in our pick pool. What's Sandman got
yeah,
him at?
-3,
Yeah, it's
+3
3
for Dallas.
plus
Yeah.
3.5 or 3.
No, +3.
Okay.
Yeah, we're right on the number. So, I'll tell you what, I haven't went still and back tested all of my numbers, but these ones where I'm flipped the other direction have worked out quite well for me the last couple of weeks. So yeah, I'm gonna be on Dallas.
Yeah,
I hate to go heavy on a Thursday night game,
I know.
but it sure it sure seems like a top 3 game of the week, at least,
In
somewhere
Missouri
up
now
there.
we have sports betting. So
We do.
sports betting opened up December 1st, so I'm sure you've got a free bonus bet you could throw on it. In
Yeah,
case you lose, you get all your
I'm
money
gonna have
back.
to go and do some research and see about what kind of deals that bonus money is out there for signups. That's
Yeah.
that's kind of a project for this weekend because
Uh,
yeah, I would like to get a little involved,
yeah.
kind of set myself up for maybe getting a little more involved next year. I'll
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
start
yeah.
the season off instead of jumping in the middle. It's
Arguably, you know more right now though than you will week 1 next year.
it is an interesting stance that it definitely feels like you know um
Time to build your bankroll.
yeah, that since I got crushed week 9, since then it's been pretty good weeks.
Yeah.
And so yeah, maybe it is time to just kind of wade in a little bit and see if I can use some of these player acquisition bonuses
Bonus
to,
bets, man. They
to
want to
yeah,
entice you in.
build up a little bit of a bankroll.
So we had kind of a shit show of a game last week where the Los Angeles Rams forgot how to play football in Carolina.
Yeah.
And it really wasn't a forgot how to play football. It was more of a Carolina wouldn't go away. And the Rams had trouble basically stomping the life out of them. The Rams would
Yeah.
score, they would get up a little bit. They couldn't hold them down. Carolina didn't get away. Well, this week, Arizona or Los Angeles has got Arizona in Arizona. Do we feel, or do you feel, that the Rams can cover such a big number as 8.5 after showing that they had trouble putting a team like Carolina away?
I think that this feels like the right kind of Zach. My number is at 13.7. You give Arizona the littlest bit of home field advantage. You're still 12 and a half, 12, something
Yeah,
around there. And the weird thing that I've been watching as I've been betting against Arizona most weeks, the last several weeks. At the same time, I've had one of my fantasy teams that I sold at the trade deadline. And because I sold, I needed to grab guys off the waivers. Like half
yeah.
my team is like Arizona players now.
Oh,
And
no.
I am whipping the shit out of people
Really?
because Jac- Brissett's putting up numbers. one of these wide receivers. I got one of the running backs. While they're losing, they are putting up points. They're putting up yards, and it's not turning into scoring points. It's very odd. I haven't really went and tried to look at exactly what all the drives look like and see if I can, you know, have some sort of unified theory over what I think's going on. But they are right there with Tennessee, tied for like second worst behind Vegas for underperforming.
Yeah.
So you go, I think McVay gets to take a shot at him twice a year. They're obviously going to be unhappy with losing that game.
Yeah.
They do enjoy going into Arizona and just stomping the shit out of the Cardinals.
Yeah. They do
So
that.
it's one of those ones where I hate to be on two big favorites in the afternoon because those games can get so weird. Like either they're all boring where the favorites just run away, or you just have absolute chaos across three games. So you know, have a hard time playing anything except for the Rams. But it's one of those things we talk about 7.5, 8.5. It's just hard to lay those points and go, yeah, I think they're definitely going to win with margin, but everything's pointing towards them smothering that team. And what we talked about at the beginning of the episode, going, hey, we're going to hold these guys down and we're going to act like the best team in the world and get ourselves back on track from this misstep a week ago. And so, it
Do you know
seems
if
like the right place.
Kyler Murray's playing or if it's going to be Jacoby still?
I don't. I kind of assumed that they had just kind of moved on from Kyler.
Yeah. I mean, they kind of thought that when they beat Dallas, and then they've lost 4 straight to Seattle, San Francisco, Jacksonville, and Tampa. And now they've got the Rams and then Houston.
He's on
So,
IR. They haven't
oh, okay.
activated him from IR yet.
Okay. Well, he might have to be on IR
It
5 weeks
says the estimated return date is the 4th.
so that's next week or 2 weeks still.
Yeah, the note from December 1st is saying that he will not return to practice this week.
So,
So,
Jacoby against Tampa kept it within 3, against Jacksonville kept it within 3, but San Francisco, beat them by 19, and then Seattle beat them by 22.
yeah.
I would say that the
So,
Rams probably fall in that category of Seattle and San Francisco, so probably you're justified in thinking the +8 is coverable.
yeah, because those East Coast divisions, you go, hey, we're real questionable about bucking those home dogs, especially when you start getting a number like this. But I don't know that the West Coast is built that same way. It seems
Yeah.
like when one of these teams falls behind, everybody else just takes advantage of them.
They do that a little bit, and I think it's interesting you noted the West Coast versus the East Coast because that does seem to be a little bit of a thing, especially
Yeah,
for the
it's
NFC,
just
especially for the
yeah,
NFC.
yeah. They just seem more violent on the East Coast, which kind of leads to more variance.
Yeah. Interesting. All right. So speaking of East Coast, West Coast bias, we've got a great game on Monday night against the defending world champion Eagles coming with your Los Angeles Chargers. Here is the problem. Herbert has a broken hand. What are you thinking here? What are your points got up?
Look, I don't like Philly, but
Nope.
my numbers make them 0.8 point favorite, which tell me that especially look in the Sandman pools, we locked at 3.5. So that's
Three
rough.
and a half. Hmm.
Yeah. That's rough. You're on the wrong side of the hook.
Yeah.
Um, I I think you have a problem for the Chargers regardless. If Herbert goes out there and plays, you have a target on your body the entire time.
Yeah.
If he doesn't play, then you have a high variance game. That like, hey, look, Bray could go out there and he could get in a flow, and they've got weapons. He
Yeah.
could definitely put up some points, but I think that there's just a high probability of Philly doing the same thing that we just talked about with the Rams.
Yeah.
You
Yeah. Yeah.
go, hey, obviously Chicago is better than Carolina. So it's
Yeah.
more reasonable that you get upset. But now they got to go on the road. The downside is this whole you got to go all the way across the country. You got to play 3 hours earlier, body clock wise.
It's a Monday
You
night,
know,
though. It's a Monday night game.
I, yeah, I got to list in the wrong place. So, yeah, it's probably not that big of a deal. Yeah, I think you just got to lay the points. I don't know what Harbaugh does to get his team up. And if this doesn't get Philly jacked up, I don't know what will. Like this is the clear picture where if they want to hold off Dallas, win the division, be in a position where, look, they 8-4, they're in a position where their future strength of schedule is less than average. So they've
Oh,
got a shot of, hey, go win these games, and you can put yourself in a position to maybe compete for some home field advantage or put yourself in the
yeah.
position where you can at least get a home game or two. I would hope that they're here to win, and it's minimal margin. Where do your numbers break it down at?
My numbers were a little different than yours. My numbers came in at the Chargers favored by a half a point. And so, with us catching points, the Chargers being home dogs, that's screaming to me a Charger play. Now, all that being said, is I've watched Philly kind of implode the last 2 weeks against a Bears team at home on a holiday prime game that they should have taken care of business and they didn't. And then they got whooped by an arch rival in division, Dallas. Effectively, they went up 21-0 almost on Dallas
Uh-huh.
or something like that.
Yeah,
And
21
then didn't
nothing.
score. Did they even score a point until the fourth quarter of the Bears game? I mean, they almost got shut off for a game and a half. That offense did.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds right.
So I'm like, that's a problem that they felt the hangover from the Dallas beating in the Bears game a little bit, and they couldn't get back up off the mat. Now they've taken another hit. And listen, the Chargers, you were talking about Harbaugh a minute ago. You don't know what he will say. He will never say this as a coach. A coach will never say this. A coach will never say this is a must-win game. But in
Right.
reality, this is a must-win game for the Chargers because they face the toughest schedule
That's a
left.
really good point.
And
Yeah.
they face the Chiefs, who they should beat, but that's a division rival. That's a whole different conversation. They face Dallas, who's arguably the toughest team right now, nobody wants to face. The Texans, who's arguably the toughest defense nobody wants to face. And then Denver, who's leading the division, and they have to go into Denver. So if the Chargers want to make a playoff run, they're staring 8-4 in the face right now. And if they get shut out the rest of the way, they could miss the playoffs going 8-9. Now,
Yeah.
this game going 9-4 puts them in a position to feel really good about a wild card chance. It puts them in a position that if they can knock off one of their two division rivals, Kansas City or Denver, they've got a 10-win season.
Yeah.
A coach is going to say, oh, we can beat all these teams. Well, yes, that's your job. You're hype guy, right? We talked about hype
Right.
guy a little
Yeah.
bit ago in the thing.
Yeah.
But
Without
in
a doubt.
reality, behind closed doors, I promise you, he's telling his coaching staff, we got to beat this team. They're coming in here. They're wounded. They're hurt. Their ego's down. We got to kick them while they're down and keep their ass down, because if not, we do not want to let them rise back up and start our next 4 weeks off where we're limping around hurt. I really
Yeah,
feel
that's a
they're
good
going to come
point.
out. Harbaugh's going to have this team motivated. To me, give me the home dog on this. I may not put a lot of gap points on it or, high points on it. If I was did you say we're catching 3.5 in the Sandman?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Dude,
So,
3.5 on
for
the home
that
dog.
kind of call,
I just look at this and think, even if the Eagles win, are they gonna cover by margin? I don't know.
it's questionable.
I don't know, man. I know your numbers are saying, but this is why I love going over my numbers and your numbers because we do have a little bit of difference. But when we start taking
Uh-huh.
factors out, home field and things, we get them pretty close. But this one
Yeah.
was a little different, and this is that whole data versus feel thing. And Harbaugh's a feel coach, so I'm going with feels.
The Chargers, I can't figure them out. And
Yeah, I
Philly,
can't either.
I feel like I have them figured out, and I think that they're, average. So it is a questionable it's a
They're
questionable
average. Yeah,
situation, that's for sure. Like, I that number is really stretching out real close to the 7. So we'll have to see, especially what Herbert ends up doing. We may get
yeah. How it
a
moves,
real
that'll move a little
straw
bit.
signal that, like, it's just been kind of teetering along right there around the 3. And if he gets ruled in or out, if it moves or if it doesn't move, then we know that, hey, the world was kind of thinking that it was going to go the way that it goes. And we know that we can kind of use that to our advantage.
Our only issue on this is, and this is for Brandon and I, guys. You guys can listen to our secrets. We're gonna have to make that decision on the Eagles Chargers by Sunday because of the when we got to have them in for the Super Contest,
Mhm.
and the primary betting on that may not occur until Monday morning.
And it's very possible that they'll. I mean, I think for something like the super contest, there's probably too much variance. And I think we've got some other good ideas here where we can,
Oh yeah,
kind of continue maybe closing the gap here a little bit. Where,
yeah.
with last week, we're kind of in a position where we're only like 2 points out of third place now. So, we
We
can
got to
kind of
keep
look
closing.
at, yeah, what we think are going to be the big plays of the week. And
We played
see if
Dallas
we
last
can
week,
kind
right?
of. No,
No, I know. I just was saying
no.
that for your for.
Oh, man, it was with the way that that went, you know
I wouldn't have picked him to save my life. I wouldn't pick him this week to save my life because it just hurts. And it can't hurt double. It hurts as a fan. I
yes.
can't let it hurt
No,
as
I
a
get
gambler.
that. Very seldom do I want to
Man.
take something that people inside my house are gonna be rooting for and then
Ugh.
put a high pick on that because it's a tough putt to sit there and watch it if it doesn't work out.
So, Brandon, we've got time for one more game breakdown before we head over and talk about our survivor picks. Is there any game that jumps out at you, or do you want me to throw one out at you to make us chew on it?
Well, I'll tell you, my biggest delta between line and what my line is Jacksonville and Indiana
Okay.
or Indianapolis. Um, we locked in with Jacksonville getting a point and a half. And I make
Hmm.
this Jacksonville minus 6.5.
Okay.
Oh, um, and listening to some of the more X's and O's guys talk about stuff today, th- they think that Indianapolis really has a problem on their hand where if Jones can't be a threat to run the ball, it makes it
Hmm.
much easier to bottle up Taylor. And that's what we're seeing over the last couple of weeks, where their offense is starting to not be as effective as it was at the beginning of the season. And that, as much as Jacksonville stresses me out, I keep hitting with them. They've burnt me, a couple of times, but it does seem like my number is creating this big delta for them week over week. And um, not to mention that it was brought up today that Indianapolis hasn't won in Jacksonville since 2014. So we have like, a 10-year or 11-year head start on the last time that Indianapolis was able to get over the hump in Florida and getting those points. It's one thing when Jacksonville, you got to win by some margin, and you start
Yeah,
talking about they never win. Well, they don't have to lose. Yeah, like they just not cover. But with us getting a point and a half, it kind of
I
protects
love it.
that, one win or 1 point win, that sort of thing. Where do your numbers come out on that?
Well, first off, my numbers are saying that Indianapolis is a 4. But remember, we've talked about my numbers in the past where I'm heavily weighted towards total data on the front of the season. And so my numbers have not adjusted. I mean, they do adjust as the season goes, but I still have a complete look. I prefer to look at teams as they perform the last about 6 weeks. Personally, this is an eye test for me. This is a Jacksonville play all the way. I 100% agree with Jacksonville. It's probably going to be one of my top picks. I don't know about the top pick, but in the top. And here's why. This is more of a play against Indianapolis than it is for Jacksonville. Even though Jacksonville and Houston are the two that I thought were going to be competing all along for the division championship, and that's going to kind of be how this shakes out. I do not think Indianapolis is going to win a game the rest of the season. I think that they're done and they're going to finish the season 8-9. This is very much the same situation the Chargers were in, except the
That's a good
Chargers
point.
played tough competition and have beaten a few top teams. The Colts have not. The Colts wins this year, their best win on the board is against Denver in week 2 by 1 point at home. And they shouldn't have won that
On a
game if I
reset,
recall correctly. Yeah.
that was a leverage call.
Yeah.
Denver was
They
going to win that
shouldn't have.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was not a win technically. So their other wins are against Miami, trash, Tennessee, trash, Vegas, double trash, Arizona, trash. Beat the Chargers, so we're gonna go.
Yeah.
Tennessee, trash, Atlanta, trash. They lost to Houston, fire defense, Kansas City, defending Super Bowl team, Pittsburgh, maybe trash, and the Rams. They are not. They did their record of their 8 wins. 6 of them are bad wins. They have 2 good
Good call.
wins. They are
Yeah, they've
also
had a
getting ready to play
very
Jacksonville twice, Seattle, San Francisco, and Houston. Seattle and San Francisco are 2 of our Power 5 teams. Houston is knocking on the door. Just
yep.
beat them. They have to travel to Houston. Indianapolis doesn't win the rest of the season. I'm actually going to go look and see probably if there's a future of Indianapolis missing the playoffs in one of these sports books because
It's
I'm
definitely
not
out there.
convinced they're going to be. I don't know if they're going to win the rest of the season. And I might go bet their over under number at total wins 9. And I think I
Yeah,
would probably
they're
get decent
they're
odds.
they're at 10 and like they're at 10 and a half right now, plus
Hmm.
125 to the under.
Yeah.
So,
Hmm.
yeah, it's
There's
definitely
money to be made.
um yeah,
Do
yeah.
we think
I because I,
Indianapolis is going to beat Jacksonville twice, Seattle, and Houston?
no, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they figure out a way to split with Jacksonville when Jacksonville's got to go up to Indianapolis because they've got a
Sure.
bunch of splits. Indianapolis playing
It
at home
happens.
against Jacksonville also. But those other 3
Interdivision
games,
stuff.
those are going to be serious problem games for them. Unless Jones' broken leg, heals up to where he can get out there and run a little bit.
Yeah. And because what that's doing is, offenses can kind of be, I don't want to say one dimensional. They can kind of be 4 dimensional, right? You've got your run game, your pass game, your screen kind of short game, but then you've also got your quarterback mobility game. And they effectively have taken away the quarterback mobility game. And if you can key on Taylor, you can force Jones to beat you. And these teams that have these defenses like Seattle and San Francisco, now I know, San Francisco's lost Bosa, they've lost Warner, they're not great. Saleh has been dialing up the last several weeks some pretty nice defensive performances. I do
Yeah.
not see that slowing down. They threw up 8 against Cleveland, 9 against Carolina, 22 Arizona, 26 Rams. I mean, they're Saleh's throwing up some decent defensive throws. I don't see the Colts coming in and scoring more than 17. in that game. I,
That
I'm
seems
telling you,
reasonable to
man,
me.
I'm on Jacksonville. So your numbers are spot on in my humble opinion of analysis.
Hopefully we can keep it
They
rolling
could,
with some Jacksonville wins.
yeah. I mean, we'll see, right? You never know. But it's your favorite time of the week, Brandon, where we get to talk about all of the picks that we botched in Survivor.
We didn't botch nearly as many picks as the guys in Circa did. That's
No.
for sure. If anybody is not, keeping track of that, Circa Survivor splits Thanksgiving week and Christmas week into 2 weeks. So everybody had to make a pick between the Thursday games and the Friday game. And with all four underdogs winning, they eliminated like 850 of the 898 players that were left. Just an absolute massacre. More than half the players were on Philly. A whole bunch were on Baltimore. And then there was, considerably fewer on Kansas City and Detroit. But to have an entire week, in quotes, where you had to go in and take an underdog to keep yourself
Yeah.
alive creates quite an interesting situation going forward.
Yeah.
So, luckily, in our Survivor, only 5 or 6 people got eliminated this week. Everybody was kind of
Yeah.
able to stay away from the Thursday and Friday games. The Rams were the only one that really created problems for
Which
for
I'm
our
sorry to say was
contestants.
our recommendation. We kind of said that.
Well, look, I had Carolina to cover,
Yeah.
but it was fairly astonishing. I mean, my brother is a big Rams fan, and even middle of the fourth quarter, he was just like, "Man, this isn't going to work." I was just like, I don't know how it won't. Like, you just have this team that can keep getting yards,
Yeah.
and their defense can stop, and they just
And
they
they
just
did
never got to
not.
stop. They just,
They couldn't do it.
yeah, I was I was quite astonished by that situation. So yeah, that was bad call by us. But as we can see here, we are we're back on that train for
Well,
anybody
and
that
I'm not sure
you
if we're back on the train. It's just really the percentages. We just try to share the percentages with everybody.
yeah. Yeah.
They
No,
are the favorite. It's 79% to win over the lowly Arizona Cardinals. But we kind of just broke
right.
down that game. So if
Yeah.
anybody's listened to us at all to this point, they kind of know our feelings on that. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, we are back on that train. We got to ride with what the numbers tell us.
Yeah, and we got Tampa here, who is also an 8.5 point favorite. They're at home. They're playing in division, but New Orleans just they put up a little bit of a fight against Miami last week, but Tampa
Yeah,
seems to finally be getting back on track. Baker's
yeah,
running around way more. They seem to be having more fun playing some of those aggressive, risk taking sorts of
yeah.
plays. And, they should be in a good position to be able to get over the top
They're
here.
definitely more fun to watch than some of these other teams,
Oh,
but
that's for sure.
I just enjoy watching Baker run around out there with his one chicken wing attached to his arm. I mean, his other one's barely attached with some kind of,
Ain't that the truth?
labrum and some sewing material, and he's got it all stitched up and in the white sleeve, which is holding, that's a compression sleeve in there, holding everything that he's got
Uh huh.
together. So he can run around and take shots out on the field. I mean, I got to give that guy credit, man. He's tough, but
Yeah, he's just trying to make it two
technically
more
they are the
months.
safe play. Just got to make it till I can have surgery.
Yeah.
But your risk reward play, really the Broncos. I mean, if you haven't taken the Broncos yet, this is the
This is
time to
kind of
do
the
it. They've got
last
a tough
week.
schedule coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're on the
They got a
road
tough schedule coming
and they're
up.
in
They
division.
don't, yeah, on the road in division. It's a little risky, but they should handle the Vegas. I mean, they got the Packers, the Jags, Chiefs, and Chargers. None of those really feel like good places in a Survivor match to play in.
No,
So probably Vegas is it.
it does seem like the way to go.
So, Brandon, that leads you and I to our plays, which I'm kind of leaning towards Tampa, thinking they're going to take care of business. At this point, I wouldn't have played Tampa yet, and so Tampa would be my play. And then you had mentioned Denver.
Yeah, I'm one of the last people in my pool. There's only 6 of the people left that have Denver. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and utilize them and see if I can, let some of these other guys stumble this week.
Yeah, I need to get in a pool like you're in, where you can lose and still keep playing, and then it's a total record
Yeah,
overall. That gives you some not finality of it.
right.
That's not, oh, you've been eliminated from Survivor, but at least you get to keep playing. It's fun.
Yeah, yeah, um, in the weeks or in the years that work like this, it's gonna be, a weird outcome because we've got 7 people that are 12-1 right now.
Yeah.
So, unless we start getting some upsets these last couple of weeks, there's gonna be a pretty severe top that goes on at the end of it. But,
Well,
you know, it definitely lets you stay engaged and continue
yeah.
kind of thinking through, hey, I got bounced from the pure survivor sorts of plays, but I can keep kind of playing with this one here.
Well, I think Bill needs to come up with one of these for Sandman, right? Like the survivor of the failed survivors, and then do the guts format where you have a certain like point spread or something against it, so that there's more of a declared winner at the end.
Yeah, that could definitely help. That guts format helps a ton with, kind of separating people and in pushing you to take those higher risk reward sorts of plays because we could get a lot more aggressive with
Yeah.
risk reward if there is really a reward for getting closer to zero. So, you can go out here and say, hey, maybe I really like, something like Philly, where you're laying 2.5 or 3.5 points. If you really get the reward of being able to get to the other side of that.
We're gonna have Bill do this. We want to name it Uno Mas. So just one more, Uno Mas. So we can talk about how are you doing in the Uno Mas. We want to have that.
I
We
like
want to be
that.
able to reference the Uno Mas. The one more pick leak. The one more pick. I'm gonna make one more pick. I had a buddy of mine that used to always be at the bar. He'd be like Uno Mas, and I'd be like, no, no, I don't need any more. I've had enough.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I had a guy like that as well. That's for sure.
Uno
Yeah, I
Uno
guess I'll
Mas.
have
No,
one more beer.
one more Uno Mas. So all right, and the team playing Tennessee is your Cleveland Browns, but we do not endorse them in any sense of the fashion. This could be a Tennessee win this week, but you never know. We'll
No,
see
yeah,
what Shador does.
this is a
Maybe he puts them
very,
out on the winning side.
very interesting situation. That I think anybody that tries to handicap that game and go, I know what's going to happen
Yeah,
with these two guys playing quarterback,
yeah,
that you are fooling yourself.
yeah, absolutely. This isn't. You do not play this game. You take the over for most interceptions thrown in a game for the weekend in this game.
Or
So
you get real
that's
aggressive with the under because this is
yeah, that's true.
at 33.5, which is basically
Yeah.
unheard of in pro football. And staring at this, you go, this could reasonably be like a 10-7 sort of game, without a doubt. Like, very simply, they just play tug of war over the 50-yard line for 4 hours.
So I need to look. Man, I really felt Tennessee was starting to kind of develop a little bit after the Indianapolis loss. Like they only lost to the Chargers by 7. They only lost to Houston by 3. They only lost to Seattle by 6. But then Jacksonville just smacked them.
Yeah.
So I was kind of trending here to have this actually be an outright win by Tennessee, which I actually kind of think Tennessee might win this game. It is in Cleveland, which is going to make it difficult. It depends on the weather, and I know Cam Ward, he's from Miami, and he's not going to like the cold in Cleveland. And Shador is going to be a little more accustomed to that being in Colorado, but still.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's one of those things where if it's not high variance, then it's just going to be Cleveland's defense just smothering them.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Right now, Tennessee has a win total at 2.5, minus 170 to the under. So it's the heavily shading
Heavy on
towards
the under.
like they're not going anywhere. But I
Nine to
do agree
three.
with you. When you watch the games, you go, okay, they're kind of figuring some things out. But
Yeah, the eye test says that
then
he's kind of getting better.
yeah, but then they run into buzzsaws and they've got a real problem on their hands.
That's the NFL, though. But
Yeah, without a doubt.
all right. So that's your survivor picks. That's our breakdowns. Hopefully you guys did as well this week as we did, and hopefully your next week is even better. Good luck with all your plays. I'm Nate. He's Brandon. We're the Syndicate. Peace.
Cheers.